Hello everybody. The biosphere there of Montreal, set up in the 1967 Expo, dominates the skyline of this wonderful city. It's a beautiful afternoon here in Montreal, and when Lewis Hamilton opened his hotel room door this morning, he will have seen his own face staring up at him from the front pages of the Canadian newspapers. But if he wins this race this afternoon, I think he'll be front page news all over the world. So can he do it? Can Lewis Hamilton convert his first pole position into that first victory? You bet he can. He's certainly more than capable, but there are a lot of traps and pitfalls lying in wait for him over the next 70 laps. It's a different kind of circuit, obviously, from Monte Carlo, where McLaren felt they needed to control the situation between their drivers, but it's very similar in one key respect. It's an easy race to lose. The harder you push here at Montreal on a circuit where it's only used once or twice a year and the offline is treacherously slippery, the harder you push, the more likely you are to hit the wall. And because we get cars hitting the wall here with some regularity and they're difficult to get out of the racetrack, we often get safety cars and they can play havoc with your race strategy. A 10-second lead can quickly be converted to nothing. Today then boils down to a battle of nerve, really, and a battle of cunning between Hamilton and Alonso. It's not ideal for either man to have to race against his own teammate. Both of them would prefer to be sitting alongside a Ferrari driver on the grid. There are rules to be observed through this difficult first corner here in Montreal. Mustn't take each other off, that's the first rule of motorsport. But both will be going for it big style here this afternoon. Alonso says he can't win the championship this afternoon, and he's right about that. But we saw him taking some risks at the start in Barcelona and it didn't pay off for him. And maybe Lewis Hamilton might just be able to take advantage of that. There is the front of the grid. You see Heidfeld outstanding in the BMW to take that third place. Some people believe Ferrari are carrying a bit of extra fuel because they didn't feel they could compete with McLaren in qualifying. They're trying something different from the race, but others feel that Ferrari are just off colour as they were in Monte Carlo. Mark Webber, looking for his first points of the season, starts in 6th place. Nico Rosberg has been fast all weekend. He could pick something up here this afternoon. Fisichella made a little mistake in his qualifying, could have been further up the grid. And then in the thick of the midfield, David Coulthard and Jenson Button. Not finding the speed here in Montreal. Button, the previous pole sitter from 2005. Ralf Schumacher again a little bit off colour in the Toyota, and Heikki Kovalainen you see there at the back, he's had a nightmare weekend. An engine failure on Saturday morning dropped him back 10 places on the grid, but he only qualified 19th anyway after he became one of a number of drivers, Martin, to hit the wall this weekend. You've raced here many times. It's difficult to stay out of those walls, isn't it, if you're pushing like mad?
It is, and it's so nice to see a wall next door to the race circuit actually, which challenges the drivers. It's bumpy, the curbs are variable, some of them very steep and aggressive, and you see the drivers really having to fight to keep the car on track, which I have to say is a pleasure to see compared to some of the billiard table circuits we go to. Not that they're all wrong, but it is just nice to see a guy having to keep the car from just skimming along the wall. And remember last year, James, the two-star drivers here last year were Michael Schumacher, in my view, and David Coulthard, the two wiser, older heads. And it was a race of attrition, drivers making errors, as we've seen all through free practice and qualifying. And, well, it'll be certainly interesting to see if Lewis, with such a posse of Grand Prix winners behind him, and, of course, the double world champion, can he keep it out of the wall, keep his head? It's going to be supremely impressive if he does. They push the cars back a bit, switch off the traction control and lay a line of rubber down, and that's why they just move them back off the line, and just to give themselves slightly better grip away from the start itself.
Capacity 110,000 crowd here. No Jacques Villeneuve on the grid, the Canadian local hero of the last few years, but it's not put the Canadians off at all. They've turned out in their numbers throughout the weekend. A very impressive spectacle. Tremendous support for Formula One in this part of the world. There's the two contenders this afternoon. Alonso slow away, has he? No, he hasn't stalled it. He gets going, so does Heidfeld. And I think psychologically, Martin, it's a very, very interesting battle between these two drivers. Alonso can't afford, given how close Hamilton has been to him all season anyway, with no experience, he can't afford to let him have that extra boost of confidence that a first victory would give him, because he wants to keep him in his box, doesn't he, and keep him in his place. And if Lewis was unleashed, I think he might feel that he might become uncontrollable for Alonso.
Absolutely, and of course next race, next weekend, Alonso traditionally has struggled at Indianapolis, so he needs to keep Lewis in check this afternoon. If we're right, we think that Alonso has about 2 laps more fuel than Lewis Hamilton. That's the story. It's the man I was drinking tequila shots with last night, and I've got a headache, and I hope he has too. And if we're right, then all Alonso's got to do is just stay close to Lewis through the early stages, and then just put the hammer down during the 2 laps. He could stay out a little bit longer to seize the high ground. And of course it's the role reversal exactly of Monte Carlo, isn't it? There's a car down there on the it's just equipment. There's so much equipment still making its way off the grid as they're around the back of the circuit on the warm-up lap.
Yeah, well, certainly pit tactics will be an important part of the game. We're expecting 2 refueling and tyre stops here this afternoon, and they turn them around pretty quickly in Formula One. It's the timing of that, and of course both types of tyre have to be used during the course of the race. We have a soft and a super soft tyre as we ride on board here with Kimi Räikkönen, but again, completely different sort of circuit from Monte Carlo, where overtaking is virtually impossible. Here, overtaking is quite possible, and there are several places to do it. We've got long straights leading into tight braking zones, just kicking a bit of dry ice there off the racetrack and the pit lane. And Schumacher, very interesting to see him continuing to come to races. I was talking to someone who was very close to him in his Benetton days last night, who said there was a guy who was so focused when he was a racing driver, and yet now he seems to be sort of drifting without any particular role, and it's very unusual to see Michael putting this much effort in after his retirement. A lot of people are very surprised to see him, but he's an advisor to Ferrari. He's certainly been helping Felipe Massa a great deal. And you can see how warm it is here in Montreal. 54 degrees the track temperature, 27 the air temperature. A perfect blue sky day for a Grand Prix. 70 laps coming up.
The tyre warming going on, but it's quite a short run down to that first corner, and of course they've got so little front tyre temperature when they get there. You can use the power to heat up the rears, and that is a BMW that's a long way forward in its slot. I think he'll get away with that, but it's so easy to overshoot the slot. There's a little sensor in each grid position so that this man, Charlie Whiting, the race director, can know immediately, as soon as the start has taken place, if anybody was moving when the lights go out.
Christian Albers in the Spiker will start from the pit lane after some gearbox problems. Well, Anthony Hamilton was telling me half an hour ago that his heartbeat reaches 180 degrees. He measured it at the last race at the start of the Grand Prix. It must be going through the roof now with his son Lewis on pole position. When the 5 lights go out, the Canadian Grand Prix will be underway. Go! Alonso's away well. Lewis tries to counter him, and Heidfeld, there's a flag at the back, but it looks like Heidfeld's attacking Hamilton. Alonso goes to the outside. Has he made it? He's run wide. He's cut the corner. If he takes the advantage, which he can't, he's done what he did in Spain. He's gone for broke, and it's cost him. Alonso loses out. Heidfeld's up in the 2nd place. Alonso drops to 3rd, and he's got a Ferrari nibbling all over the back of him. But Lewis Hamilton leads in Montreal.
Yeah, that's a disaster for Alonso. He's now got the BMW ahead of him, and just what Hamilton needs. Alonso way too deep into that first corner with cold front tyres and cold brakes. He was never going to slow down from there. Lewis kept his head. Luckily, when Alonso rejoined the circuit, he was able to miss him.
Well, Jenson Button, I'm afraid, has stalled on the grid, so he's being pushed off as I speak to you. Hamilton leads, Heidfeld is 2nd, Alonso is 3rd, Massa 4th. There is Jenson Button being pushed away. Rosberg up to 5th, Räikkönen is down to 6th, Fisichella up 2 places to 7th, Kubica is where he started in 8th. Mark Webber has lost out at the start. He's gone from 6th to 9th place, and Takuma Sato is 10th as Heikki Kovalainen there in the Renault pushes through. And just look at the lead that Lewis Hamilton's established already over Nick Heidfeld. Heidfeld, and now Alonso's got to think about how he gets past that BMW, which Martin has been very quick all weekend.
Yeah, Heidfeld's been driving beautifully, the car's well set up, and well, Alonso's just got to get on him and nail him very, very quickly. So a lot of, as we know, Alonso needed to stay close to Hamilton to have any chance of beating him in the pit stop phase, and that has not worked out at the moment. So a lot of work for him to do.
Well, Heidfeld is a second and a half behind Lewis Hamilton at the end of lap 1, and Hamilton's pushing even harder. He's 0.2 faster in the first sector alone, trying to build the all-important gap as Raikkonen gets the car a little bit twitchy under braking. The cars spend 20%. It's absolutely critical that the car is stable in the braking zone. One of the things that you have to have here, as Button tries to get himself away, shaking his head.
Sounds like he's either got no first gear or the clutch is broken. And Alonso then lining himself up in the slipstream of that BMW. And McLaren is fast in a straight line, but he's a long way behind now on traction, coming out of the hairpin, and he'll not be able to have a go from there. Hamilton, meanwhile, easily the fastest man in the first 2 sectors, and his lead will have grown quite significantly.
It was 1.5 seconds at the end of lap 1 as he crosses the line now, and Heidfeld pursues him. It's gone out to 2.1 seconds, so he's taking 0.6 of a second a lap out of the field. Alonso still third, Massa fourth, Rosberg fifth. Massa doesn't look terribly comfortable. He was got into turn 1 rather awkwardly last time through, and the Ferraris seem to be dropping away a little bit pace-wise. It's been a strange weekend for them in some ways. They just don't seem to have been able to dial their car into this racetrack. Looking there at Mark Webber, giving Robert Kubica something to think about.
Webber had a poor start. He's back down to 9th place, so he did not get away well, which is a shame for him after a great qualifying performance.
Well, we're riding on board with Mark Webber. Let's get some news from Ted Kravitz in the pit lane.
Yeah, down at Honda, and it's terminal for Jenson Button. He was a lap down anyway. They wheeled him back. They were trying to start him up. They tried putting the wand in, and they were fiddling around with the steering wheel, but it's terminal. They've given up, and they've retired the car. Jenson, from where I can see now, absolutely furious.
Oh, look, and there's the repair down at the turn 10 we were talking to Nick Heidfeld about on the start line. It's sort of like a white powder to try to protect the racetrack, and we'll see how that unfolds during the race. But at the moment, Alonso falling back a little bit from Heidfeld. We know Heidfeld probably coming in about lap 19, quite a bit earlier than most, but Heidfeld now on the same pace as Hamilton. The gap remains at 2.1. Alonso's a further second adrift though.
Anthony Davidson there in the Super Aguri, the fourth British driver on the grid. Just in the slipstream as we look at Mark Webber, who's gone off at turn 1. Webber had a poor start, dropped from 6th to 9th, and now it looks like he's gone off the racetrack and lost quite a few places there. So although they're adding a lot of performance to this Red Bull car over every race, they're having problems getting the finishes in.
Hamilton got away well. The yellow flags are waving at the back for Button, and Heidfeld looked quite menacing down into turn 1. Hamilton was watching Heidfeld. Alonso decided to go right round the outside. I think he made a smart move to cut across the grass, otherwise he may have been penalised if he had taken the tarmac road there and cut out all of turn 2. And this is from Heidfeld in P3 on the grid, and he got away best, and he's thinking about a look down the inside, has a sensible tablet, but he realised it wasn't going to happen. Meanwhile, Alonso charging across the grass, and well, he got away with it, didn't he? A much more significant bounce through the gravel in Barcelona, so hopefully he won't have too much grass in that radiator. This is the 2 Ferraris, and Rosberg touches the back of Massa. Both Ferraris connecting then in
That's
turn
Raikkonen,
2.
sorry, Raikkonen tapping the back of Massa, I think.
Yeah, sorry. And then Mark Webber is going to go steaming into turn 1, having just passed Kubica, and he's gone in too deep, and that, of course, then is a replay.
So it's interesting what happened with Kimi Raikkonen as Jenson Button walks in. Raikkonen started in front of Massa on the grid, and yet he was passed by him through turn 1, and it looked as though there was contact there, and the front wing just flexed a little bit on Raikkonen's car. What sort of lap times is he doing? Low 118.3s, Massa's doing 117s, but Raikkonen struggling to establish himself in the Ferrari team, and there's a lot of long faces down at Ferrari about the performance this year of Kimi Raikkonen. It's not the man that they thought they'd signed as things stand at the moment. Hamilton leads then, Heidfeld second, 2.5 seconds behind him. Alonso's third, Massa's fourth, Rosberg is fifth, Raikkonen sixth, Fisichella up to 7th now, Kubica 8th, and 9th is Takuma Sato.
You're on board with David Coulthard. He's up to 13th with the demise of his teammate. Webber's now 14th, and behind him he's having a look at the back of Barrichello's Honda. Faster in the second half of the straight, but not enough traction to get there and do anything about it. Hamilton leads. He's now on lap 6, 3.2 seconds ahead of Heidfeld, who is a further 1.2 ahead of Fernando Alonso.
Cannon and Rosberg are shorter than you. You need to stay with them, mate. Do everything you can and stay with them.
Message being passed there to Giancarlo Fisichella from the Renault team. Important to keep the driver informed at all times on the tactics. There's Albers, who started from the pit lane. Oh. A lot of people have done that this weekend.
Yeah, it's strange. You don't realise you're having that accident. We've all been in that wall at some time. It looks like you might get away with that one, but it all seems absolutely as per normal, and suddenly you drift a half a metre wide and you're in the wall. It's a very, very strange accident to have. But meanwhile, Mark Webber closing up to the back of Coulthard, who's really being held up, I think, by Barrichello at this stage. They're 12, 13 and 14. Once again, then Hamilton's lead increasing, now 3.8 seconds over Heidfeld, 5 seconds ahead of Alonso. This is a disaster. Now Coulthard will be on a different strategy to Mark Webber, so he's led him through to have a go at the Honda of Barrichello. Coulthard will be fueled longer. He was outside the top 10. Webber, 6th on the grid, undoubtedly will be fueled shorter. So good team, sensible team play there by the drivers. Now well out of position after that spin.
Webber going by into turn 1, and well, the chance of points receding then for the Red Bull team. It was looking so promising for them, with 6th place on the grid for Mark Webber, who's yet to get off the mark in 2007. He's now thinking about what he can do to Rubens Barrichello. You can see the track repair there, the dust over. It's the second year in a row that the track has broken up at the hairpin. And we heard from Nick Heidfeld how unhappy he was about that. That's the movers and non-movers off the start line. Raikkonen, the one that's probably going to be most costly from a championship point of view. Welcome back to Montreal, where Lewis Hamilton has leading this race from pole position. Heidfeld 2nd, Alonso 3rd at the moment. We've already lost Jenson Button off the start line. He failed to get away. He's talking now with Louise Goodman.
Yeah, I think angry sums up the look on Jenson's face at the moment. You weren't best pleased with that, obviously.
No, it hasn't been a fantastic weekend, but there is pace in the car on long runs, so it's frustrating. We come into the race and we don't even get off the line, so
what actually happened?
I took first gear and it said it was in first gear, but it wasn't. So I went back to neutral and went for first gear again, but there was no drive. It kept saying it was in first gear, but I was in a forced neutral, and that was it. Couldn't do anything about it.
Go get yourself a cup of tea. Thanks, gents.
Well done, Louise. She's always having to find disappointed racing drivers in the paddock. But look at Webber then in the slipstream of Barrichello, and he comfortably takes the place. Can he keep it through the chicane? Indeed he does, and away he goes. Hamilton is a second per lap faster than teammate Alonso in 3rd place. He is absolutely flying at the front of the race, and clearly very, very happy with his racing car. He's on lap 9. His lead is 5.5 seconds now over Heidfeld in 2nd, 7.4 ahead of Alonso, who soon is going to have Massa on his tail.
Yep, certainly is. There's Mark Webber's father, Alan. A lot of the dads come along to support their sons. It's the kind of sport where you need all the support you can get from your family all the way through your career. Often big financial sacrifices made by parents to allow their children to race karts. Anthony Hamilton, Lewis's father, used to work on the railways, had to keep 2 or 3 jobs going to finance Lewis's racing, until the fateful day when Lewis introduced himself to McLaren boss Ron Dennis at the age of 11 and said, "I want to drive for you one day." it looks as though one of the Toro Rossos has gone into the wall. The left front suspension looks broken on Scott Speed's car. He's touring slowly, and well, depending on where he ends up and parks that car will depend on whether or not we might have our first safety car.
Yeah, between, you're right, James, in turns 3, 4 and 5, you really can't get out of the way there. It's between two walls, and he's got it to a sensible place. The marshals will be able to get that out of the way. Safety car it's a high probability around here, and certainly something many of the teams try to factor into their strategy, just because between the walls, as I said, in that part of the racetrack, there's no way of really getting a car or debris out of the way safely with marshals on the racetrack.
Well, the story so far then, Hamilton leading from pole position. His teammate Fernando Alonso starting alongside him, did one of his do-or-die moves into the first corner. As we take another look at what caused Scott Speed to break the suspension, it was Alex Wirtz in the Williams colliding with him. We've lost Jenson Button, as we've heard from Louise. As we take another look at that 50-50 into the corner, hit the rear wing as well.
Yeah, it's not really an overtaking place there. The braking distance is too short. It's too bumpy on the inside, off the racing line anyway. And Hamilton, the only man in the 1 minute 16s, he's on lap 11. He's 7.7 seconds clear now, and just waltzing away, and does not look like he's punishing the car particularly hard either.
Driving beautifully, keeping some margin to the walls. And if anything, it looks like Alonso's the one who's struggling at the moment. He's almost 2 seconds behind Nick Heidfeld now, lapping slightly slower than the BMW driver. And look at the rear wing flapping around on the back of Alex Wirtz's Williams. That last lap slightly better for Alonso. He's closing in a little bit to Heidfeld, so maybe whatever it was that was slowing him down is past, but he's still now almost 10 seconds behind teammate Lewis Hamilton. And the Ferrari story so far is that Kimi Raikkonen lost the place to Felipe Massa off the start line, and he has dropped down into 6th spot.
It's scary there, difficult judgment call for the Williams team. The main thrust of the control of that rear wing and fixation of that rear wing is the two centre posts. The outside's just really, I mean, they do carry some load, but a judgment call there. I think Williams will leave him out, but you do not want your rear wing falling off at 200 miles an hour down the back straight here.
Hamilton leads by 7.7 seconds. And this is a replay.
That's Kimi Raikkonen, who is behind at Rosberg. How many times has Raikkonen been off the road this weekend? He's really struggled around here, and a little trip across the grass, no harm done, I'd imagine. Rosberg really driving well. Hamilton's brought Nico Rosberg alive, hasn't he? There's no doubt about it. Nico's a different man this year.
Yeah, they're old friends. They raced together in go-karts. Hamilton always having the slight edge, and they came through the ranks more or less together. Rosberg arrived in Formula 1 a year before Lewis Hamilton, but they're good mates, and as you say, Rosberg in his 2nd year in Formula 1 is having showing just what quality he has. He's certainly a big name for the future, still only 22 years of age. Hamilton leading, Heidfeld 2nd, 8.3 behind. Alonso now over 10 seconds behind his teammate in 3rd. Massa is 4th, Rosberg 5th, 6th Kimi Raikkonen, 7th Giancarlo Fisichella in the Renault. 8th is Kubica, 9th is Sato, looking for some more points for the Super Aguris. 10th, where he started, is Jarno Trulli. As we look at the fastest lap classification, just look how much quicker today Hamilton is than Alonso so far. What do you make of the psychology of Alonso then? Spain, he did a do-or-die into the first corner around Massa. He did the same thing here in around trying to take on Hamilton, and in both times it's cost him. You can't blame him for being an adventurer, but they're pretty expensive mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Spain he knew he had to get ahead of Massa, but I don't think he had that pressure today with Hamilton. So it's easy to stand up here and say brake too late, but he did carry just way too much speed into that corner, and a little bit of desperation. Clearly, Hamilton's pace and composure, setup, strategy is getting to Fernando Alonso, but the afternoon is yet young. What's happening here? And that's Liuzzi, of course, in the Toro Rosso, having another bounce along the wall. We're in a Renault, looking at the back of a Williams, and that is Kovalainen, I think. So Ted, is down in the pits.
Yeah, down at Williams, and unbelievably, Martin, they are sure that it's fine to keep Alex Wirtz out. They've told him just to stay out and keep going. Amazingly, he has said, okay, I'll do that. He must know that his wing is broken. He would have feel the lack of downforce at the back. Of course, they have toughened up the rear wing test, and so everyone's had to beef up their wings a bit. But, well, I mean, there's a load. What's the load on the rear wings? It's about 3,000 kilonewtons, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think they're talking to the team. They have an email system on the pit wall, communication system, so they can talk to the stewards or to Charlie Whiting for sure. But I think it's a team call, and I for sure would leave him out.
Yeah, it's the end element of the wing. It's not the one that's the main plane that seems to be broken. They're remarkably strong, these things, as you say. They take an enormous amount of load. The old story is that over 120 miles an hour, I believe it is, a Formula One car creates enough downforce to actually be able to drive theoretically upside down on the roof of a tunnel if you could actually get it up there. And Michael Schumacher there. In the middle with the glasses is Luca Baldessari, who's taken over on the tactics and strategy side from Ross Brawn. And certainly at the moment there's very little that he can do tactically to try and get the Ferraris into the hunt. They are lapping over a second a lap slower at the moment than Lewis Hamilton in the McLaren out front. And I've been watching out of our window. We're right above the exit of the final chicane onto the pit straight. And every single lap, Lewis is going through this treacherously difficult chicane, and he comes out about 6 or 7 inches from the wall. Absolutely every single lap. It's almost identical performance. He's so consistent. Driving beautifully at the front then. Riding on board with Webber in 12th place. Tony Oliuzzi up front. We've seen him touching the wall.
Well, they're sister teams. You wouldn't know it when you saw Webber brake testing the other Toro Rosso in free practice, doing a lot of damage to both cars. Scott Speed, not always the most popular man in the paddock. And Webber, Mark Webber, and what is this? That's Alonso. Alonso running wide in turn 1. So not only is he 3/4 of a second at least slower than Hamilton, he's on the ragged edge as well. And Alonso then, second mistake of the afternoon in turn 1. He's now 12.4 seconds behind Hamilton. If Hamilton carries on at this pace, he'll have a pit stop in his pocket over Alonso.
Out he comes. That's what I was talking about, that wall on the exit of the chicane at Hamilton's the same through there every single time. Alonso lost 2 seconds in that incident alone just here in turn 1. That's how much it cost him in lap time relative to Lewis Hamilton. And really you'd have to say that the race is falling to Hamilton. Webber looking like a pass. He's been the man on the move today. Already past Barrichello, and he slightly goes past for a second Liuzzi, but then has to give it back again.
It's so easy. As soon as you start turning wheel, you get a bit of roll going on in the chassis. You unload the inside front tyre and it just locks up, and your retardation is significantly less, and there's nothing you can do about it. You've passed the point of no return. Webber now has to relaunch the attack on. So we get into we've got a replay here. Webber deep up the inside, and as soon as he started to turn that wheel and get the car into the corner, it unloads the right front, and he cannot slow down. Another angle of that. Happens so often, but it's lap 16 they're on. Hamilton leads Heidfeld by 11.2 seconds. He's 15.3 seconds ahead of Fernando Alonso. Still an awful long way to go, of course. The Cynair car 12's been off the track. Jarno Trulli off the track at turn 1. He's lying at 10th, or he was. Still is, actually. Maintains 10th. Lost over 4 seconds on that lap. A little adventure across the grass. Hamilton, though, looking supremely composed, no doubt about it.
Driving like a veteran. Here he comes into this final chicane, and there he is again, and bang on the same line as he's been. Our commentary box just behind him, those big grey boxes. Working his way now onto lap 18. Two-stop strategy here with this afternoon. We're expecting the front runners in sometime in the early to mid-20s. And we'll see which one of the two McLaren drivers carried the most fuel. We'll see how much more fuel, if any, the Ferraris have got. But at the moment, they're so far behind. Massa 18 seconds now behind Lewis Hamilton that you'd have to say the threat from them for the overall victory is receding. And Hamilton has this one where he wants it.
Yeah, he's not leaving too much to spare on the outside of the corners, though, is he? He's not coasting, that's a fact. And for the first time, Heidfeld has been slightly faster than Hamilton, but I'm pretty sure Heidfeld's moving now into his pit stop zone and knows he needs to be getting on with it. Hamilton then cruising up to start lapping the field.
Yep, the spike is there of Sutil and Albers. Sutil again out qualifying teammate Albers, as he has at all but one of the races so far this year, and he's a promising driver for the future. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on the Ile de Notre Dame in the waterways of Montreal. It's a beautiful sunny day here, and it's a beautiful day so far for Lewis Hamilton. He has been the most consistent driver in the opening stint of this Grand Prix. After 15 laps, he'd already opened up a 15-second lead over his teammate Fernando Alonso, who is currently running in third place. And there he is. In front of him is Nick Heidfeld in the BMW, who got the jump at the start after Alonso made a mistake into turn one, trying to carry too much speed into the first corner in a battle with Hamilton off the start line. Losing out, and he is in third place. Massa is fourth in the Ferrari and closing in on the back of Alonso at the moment, just 1.2 seconds behind him now. Rosberg is fifth for Williams, sixth for Ferrari is Kimi Raikkonen, seventh for Renault is Giancarlo Fisichella, and eighth is Robert Kubica in the BMW. This is Alonso. Is that the same? He just did that a moment ago. Is that the same one? Oh, it's not. Look, he's let Massa through. So for the third time today into turn one, Alonso's made a mistake, and this time it's really cost him again, as Massa has dived through to take that third place, that final podium position at the moment. What is going on with Fernando Alonso?
Well, I do wonder if he damaged the underneath of the car in the first lap, but I'd be surprised across the grass there. Not a particularly high curb, as Massa's younger brother there enjoying that moment. But Lewis Hamilton, who he's co-leading the World Championship with, of course. Hamilton looking supremely composed on lap 20, 10 seconds ahead of Heidfeld. Heidfeld getting very near to where we're expecting him in the pit.
How is the car? How is the car? Not good, doesn't turn, doesn't stop, no traction. Apart from that, it's great, having lots of fun.
That's just what I was going to say. Apart from that, it's great.
Understood, hang in there, the tyres will clean up, hang in there.
Right, DC says it won't go, won't stop, won't turn, but it's good fun. So obviously there's a slight delay to that, and Heidfeld pits for BMW. There is a slight delay to when that radio is played out, so it's not going on while he's going through those particular bends.
In comes Heidfeld then from second place in the BMW. Massa moves up to second then. Alonso goes up into third place. Reasonable amount of fuel going into the BMW. That should take him through to around about that circuit. He's got a week to, well, he's got a few days to kill over here in North America before we go to Indianapolis next Sunday. And we're riding on board with the Toyota of Jarno Trulli. Liuzzi and Webber having that ding-dong, and Webber moving out to try and pass Liuzzi around the outside into turn one.
Well, there'll be some communication on the pit wall between the two Red Bull teams, but they are competing for World Championship points and crucial points. If Toro Rosso can get a point or two, might mean $20 or $30 million extra for them next year in terms of trying to pass Kubica earlier in the race down in the infamous turn one. Meanwhile, Hamilton now 19.2 seconds ahead of Massa, 20.9 ahead of Alonso in third place.
Well, we're told that Heidfeld took on 6 seconds worth of fuel, which is enough for 18 laps around here, so he'll be in around lap 9:39 or 40.
Copy, Copy that.
I'd be almost sure that his problem is rear tyre wear. They've been struggling with tyre wear, a lot of the teams. If your car's sliding, then you just burn up those rear tyres, and we think this is for Lewis Hamilton.
Well, judging by his pace on this lap, it probably is. He's the fastest man of the whole race in Sector 1 and Sector 2 of this lap. It would suggest that he's on an in lap to the pits, and here he is into the pit lane. Lewis Hamilton in the McLaren, leading this Grand Prix. He had a 19-second lead over Felipe Massa's Ferrari and 21 seconds over Alonso at the time of this stop. So theoretically, he might be able to come out, if it's a quick stop, around about where Alonso is. The fuel goes in at 12 litres per second. It would take you just 6 seconds to fill up a Mondeo using one of these things. And out he goes. There is Alonso.
It's an unusual pit lane here. You feed into the exit of turn 2, so you're never quite sure. But I think he's ended up behind him. You have to be careful, you don't cross the white line, but he is in front of Raikkonen, so he's a full pit stop ahead then of everybody down to P5. And that is beautiful. That's a double yellow wave, so that's somebody off quite big time, I'd imagine. Normally with a double, has somebody been in the wall on the exit of this chicane.
So Lewis Hamilton rejoins in 4th place behind Massa, Alonso and Rosberg. They are the top 3 at the moment, but of course Hamilton has the advantage of having made that stop, so he can sit there and enjoy the moment. But he can. Mark Webber pits from 15th place.
Safety car's on. Safety car board is out. What is that for?
Well, that's if that's the case, if the safety car is deployed and we're not getting that signal yet, that's really going to cost Lewis Hamilton, because he's made a pit stop under racing conditions. Everyone else is going to get to make one under safety car conditions and save the time.
Well, it depends, James, how quickly they close the pit lane, because as soon as Alonso's in, under the new rules, and Alonso, Rosberg and Co are in, they haven't picked up the leader yet. They don't. Let's see, we'll wait for the computer to tell us when they close the pit lane. Oh, and that's why we've got Sutil having hit the wall hard at 4. Debris on the track, presumably. And that car appeared to be cleared out of the way. So he's wrestling that thing along the wall. And Ted is there.
Absolutely perfect for Alonso. They did it. They got him in before the pit lane was closed, so they did add fuel and change tyres, so he's back now. That's fantastic timing from McLaren, very timely indeed, but he's got the hard tyres, so no chance of putting on the soft tyres and then coming in and changing them again when the pit lane reopens in just a few laps' time.
Well, Nico Rosberg did the same thing. Of course, they were circulating very close to each other on the racetrack, and I did see them both diving into the pit lane before the signal was given on the computer that safety car has been deployed. So we've got a spiker in the wall, and where does this leave Lewis Hamilton? Long way to go, 47 laps here in Canada, and we've got our safety car. Digger coming along to try and get the spiker out of the way. It's Adrian Sutil's car, and now Ron Dennis and the rest of the team strategists have got plenty of time to think about what the best thing to do will be for each of their cars. My instinct tells me that this is not good news for Lewis Hamilton, but it really does depend a little bit on how things play out and when they make their pit stops. But he has certainly made a stop that cost him time in race terms, but he had a very big advantage over the other two, so it probably isn't going to cost him so much that he'll lose that lead. But nevertheless, it's definitely given Massa and Alonso a bit of help. Massa is the race lead. What will happen is that at a certain point we will have a notice that says that the pit lane is open for refueling, and at that point you can come in.
But I think that Alonso pitted after we'd got safety car deployed on the TV screens here. Touch and go, but if he did, and I think he did, then he'll get penalised. He'll have to do a drive-through penalty, but we'll wait and see.
Well, the line is at the beginning of the pit lane. It's quite deep, the line, and certainly it seemed quite late that the signal came up, safety car deployed. It's very, very close. Very touch and go, but of course the stewards will know, and we will see a message if there's any problem. If he did pit after the safety car deployed signal came up, of course he will get a 10-second stop and go penalty. Lap 25 of the Canadian Grand Prix, and we've got high drama here in Montreal. A car has gone off. It's the spiker of Adrian Sutil. He's fine, but because of that, the safety car has been deployed, and it was deployed just after Lewis Hamilton made his first pit stop of the afternoon. We've just been given the signal that the pit lane is open, and that means that the other cars can come in and refuel. But before the safety car deployed signal was given, Alonso and Rosberg dived in. It was very, very close as to whether they got in before that signal was given or after, and it's critically important. As you can see, the Ferrari coming in now, and you'll see lots of other cars coming in as well, because if you pit after the safety car deployed signal is given, when the pit lane effectively is closed, you will get a 10-second stop and go penalty. So we don't know at the moment whether he made it, and we will have to wait for bulletins from the stewards to tell us whether or not he did. Maybe Ted Kravitz can tell us how confident McLaren are that he made it in time.
Well, just quickly before that, the Ferraris are having to stack, of course. This is what was going to happen. When they say pit lane open, all the cars will come in to refuel. The Ferraris have had to stack, so Massa's come in and Raikkonen's come in right behind them and lost a lot of time because of it. But down here at McLaren, the guys who aren't on the pit wall aren't sure either. Paddy Lowe, James, as you know, the engineering director, he's kind of giving it the too close to tell whether we got away with that one. But I think if they hadn't have pitted Alonso, then he might have run out of fuel.
Well, that's a possibility, that where they may have been forced to pit. You're right, Ted. But we saw the safety car boards down at the hairpin. Then we saw Alonso and Rosberg pitting. It's really by fractions, isn't it? They may have breached the regulations and pitted while it's just a question. The safety car is in this lap, so they've cleared the car of Sutil. Now, what this has done, I think Heidfeld's probably gained most out of this. Hamilton and Heidfeld pitted under race conditions, and they're absolutely clean and clear. They're now running P1 and P2. Heidfeld, of course, right up behind Lewis Hamilton. The Ferraris pitted late, so they're going to be out of position now, and I think it will cost them quite a bit. But certainly, all of the brilliant work of Lewis Hamilton in the opening 24 laps has been negated. It's now sort of almost a reset button. We saw some overtaking going on. And look, these are cars coming out of the pits with the red light on. They have to, and the BMW of Kubica waited for the green light. What happens is, if the safety car's in sight with the tail, with the crocodile, and there's a McLaren all locked up there, that's Alonso again. The race is back on.
Hamilton comes through to lead. He had a 19-second lead before the safety car was deployed. That has been reduced to a matter of a few yards. He's got to do it all over again, Lewis Hamilton, but such was his consistency and his composure in the opening stint, you wouldn't bet against him being able to do it. Heidfeld is in second, just as he was at the original start, and Alonso is in third place. It's exactly the situation we had on the opening lap. All three of these cars have made their pit stops. Obviously, Rosberg is gained from it. He's fourth. Barrichello's fifth. Coulthard is sixth. Seventh is Kovalainen. Coulthard has not stopped. Neither has Barrichello or Kovalainen.
Alonso under investigation. Car number 16 under investigation. Rosberg. That's the two cars we think pitted when they were not allowed to do so. It's worked out for Alonso at the moment. He's back in the action. I think he's going to get a stop and go penalty. Then other cars left the pit lane with the red light on. I couldn't see the safety car and this crocodile of cars anywhere near why they would leave the red light on. Montoya was penalised last year for that. That's a big accident for Kubica, and a horrible accident going on there. He's moving his hands, and obviously safety car will be out again. But he must have tangled with somebody in the braking area down there into, I think it's turn 10, into the hairpin. Kubica then, a lot of energy going on in that impact. Horrible accident.
Safety car deployed again, obviously, and you may find a couple of cars coming in. Kovalainen and Coulthard. Let's hope that Robert Kubica is okay. The track marshals are down there. It's on the run down to the hairpin, and he's hit the wall on the right-hand side there, on the run, the braking zone. They brake from 190 miles an hour down to just 40 miles an hour there. So that's the sort of speed that Kubica would have been travelling at when that accident happened. Here's Renault, this is what they're doing here. You have to use both types of tyre during the course of a Grand Prix. I imagine what Renault are doing is just putting some tyres on, doing one lap, so that they can come back in again and go back onto the preferred race tyre. But all our eyes and all our attention are on Robert Kubica at the moment.
I wonder if he connected with that Renault that's in the pit lane. And oh yes, he's had an accident very early on, and that was at maximum velocity. I've never seen a car crash like that in this circuit at that place. And he's certainly moving his hands about at that point. It's the Toyota he connected with. He took off, oh yes, and head first into it. So nearly collected the Toro Rosso of Scott Speed that you would have thought in any normal circumstances would have been well out of the action, and that was a huge impact. And both Alonso and Rosberg have been given a 10-second stop-and-go penalty, but the energy that went on there for Kubica was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, so Alonso and Rosberg clearly did have to come in. They would have run out of fuel if they had not made their stops at that point, and they had to just take the pain. Obviously, they will do, but concern here for Robert Kubica. An absolutely enormous accident.
The other problem there is the wall starts coming back towards the racetrack, so it's not that you can just slide along it. It really was very much a head-on impact. And he touched to be about 170 miles an hour, going around the outside of the Toyota. It seems as if the Toyota didn't know he was there, and as soon as he hit often you get a little roadway for the emergency services and marshals to use, and it just launched him up into the air.
Michael Schumacher there, who was very involved with the Grand Prix Drivers Association throughout his Formula One career, working very hard for safety in Formula One, in terms of runoff areas, in terms of strengthening the cars, and trying to keep the drivers as safe as possible. It's inherently a dangerous business, this, but certainly Schumacher, along with yourself, Martin, and a number of others, Gerhard Berger, working hard on that side of things. That's the order at the moment then, under the second safety car condition here in Montreal. Hamilton leading Heidfeld, Alonso third, Rosberg fourth, but both of those men will have to serve a 10-second stop-and-go penalty, which will drop them a long way back. Barrichello, Wirtz, Davidson and Ralf Schumacher, the top eight.
Curious situation, it's not a normal safety car at the front of the pack, it's a different car. So where the Mercedes entry, we don't know at the moment, but it's lap 29.
Concentrate on your race, mate. Concentrate on your race. Keep the tyre pressures up. Keep tyre pressures up.
Message there for Heikki Kovalainen. Keep the tyre pressures up whilst they're going slowly behind the safety car. Obviously, as things cool down, the temperatures drop. Look at all the debris. That's Kubica's accident, as seen by Tonio Liuzzi. Debris everywhere. Flying wheels. And,
surprise.
That's what happened. Carbon fibre body part getting stuck under the right front wheel of Liuzzi. They'll have to come in and clear that. situation to put on the least favourable race tyre, which is the Super Soft, the one with a white stripe on it, and presumably they'll come straight back in again afterwards, so that they'll have fulfilled their obligation to use it for at least one lap during the race, but they can then race on the faster tyre for the rest of the race. Lewis Hamilton not doing that, neither's Heidfeld. Alonso and Rosberg will have to serve their stop and go penalty at some point.
Jarno, push now. We will stop you again. Box again. We put you on prime.
That's what I was talking about. They're going to bring him round and put him back onto the favourable race tyre. This is an opportunity for a number of cars and drivers here. The pit lane is open, so those who've gone for the Super Soft, and it looks like quite a lot of people have, will now come back in again. So the race order will be completely jumbled around for the cars in the midfield that took this gamble. Approaching the halfway stage of the Canadian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton is leading from Heidfeld and Alonso, but we are under our second safety car of the afternoon after an enormous accident suffered by Robert Kubica. He's still in the car. The medical team are working with him down at the hairpin. These are drivers who pop you have to use both types of tyre during the weekend. In all the long runs that they've done, it's proved to be quite a difficult tyre to manage. They've taken advantage of this safety car situation to just do one lap on that tyre and then to come back out again, and they will race for the rest of the Grand Prix on the more preferred tyre. There is Lewis Hamilton, picked up by the safety car with Heidfeld behind him, but Alonso and Rosberg both were forced to pit during the first safety car period. They would have run out of fuel, I believe, otherwise, and so they both have to serve a 10-second stop and go penalty. So Lewis Hamilton's principal opposition in this Grand Prix, his own teammate Fernando Alonso, will lose a lot of places. The Ferrari challenge has faded, but at the moment we're all thinking about Robert Kubica. This is some of the debris from his car, and let's see if Ted Kravitz can shed some light on where we go from here.
Yeah, just down in the pits, no news from the team as yet. Just to let you know what's going to be happening, fortuitously the medical centre is actually right down very near where Kubica had the accident. It's actually on the other side of the track from the hairpin down there. So what will be happening now, Dr. Gary Hartstein, Dr. Jacques Tropinat, who are the FIA doctors, they'll be supervising the Canadian doctors, who are very good here. They've had a lot of experience, of course, recently when Olivier Panis broke his legs back about 10 years ago. They'll be supervising the Canadian doctors, and they'll be stabilising Kubica and then moving him to the medical centre. That's the other side of the track from where they are, and whenever we know anything more from BMW Sauber, we'll let you know.
Look, the main monocoque is intact. It looks like its fire extinguisher is just going off, but congratulations to the FIA for the incredible work they do in crash tech, making the unusual angle, strange part of the racetrack.
When the safety car comes in, it's a bit of a sprint to the next stop. There will be people behind you fueled longer.
Just a bit of info for Mark Webber to let him know, because as a driver you get completely confused during this kind of phase of a race, because it all just keeps moving around you, but Hamilton's at the front of this queue, closely followed by Heidfeld. Saying that BMW is, the tub is pretty much intact, but the impact into that wall, and luckily he didn't fly over the wall, otherwise he would have been meeting the cars coming the other way. You really do go down one side of the wall, turn around the hairpin and come back again. It's always been there, that corner, but what can you do? It's really almost effectively halfway down the straight. It wasn't an accident in a corner as such, and it's so difficult to legislate and plan for.
that's the order then, the top 8. Hamilton, Heidfeld, Alonso, Rosberg, Davidson, who hasn't stopped, Ralf Schumacher, who hasn't stopped either, Mark Webber and Felipe Massa, who has stopped after the pit lane was open, so they're fine. But Alonso and Rosberg will both have to serve 10-second stop-and-go penalties, which will drop them down through the field. I wouldn't be confident in predicting the order of the midfield at the moment, because a lot of drivers are going to be changing their tyres and one thing and another. It'll only be when we go green flag racing again that we'll get a clear idea of exactly where everybody is. But certainly as far as the front runners are concerned, that is the story.
I can't understand why Rosberg and Alonso haven't served their penalty straight away. They don't want to be doing it under racing conditions. They should have got in and out again, and maybe they'll pop down the pit lane this time, and Rosberg hasn't, nor has Alonso. So I wonder why they're not going in and getting that out of the way.
Well, we've checked the rule book, but I would think it's not so much of a penalty if it takes place under a safety car situation. But,
have to warm the tyres. They're starting to drop down too much now.
Yep, the tyre temperatures and pressures dropping too much. One of the problems of safety cars in Formula 1 is it means that the tyre pressures drop down, and they're less than where the drivers want them once they start racing again. So it's a very difficult moment, the restart. For the drivers, they have to feel out where the car is under them. The safety car will be in at the end of this lap. We'll be racing again. That's a replay of the accident of Robert Kubica hitting the concrete wall on the outside, the right-hand side on the way down to the hairpin. He would have been braking from 190 miles an hour down to 40 at that point. And you can see making contact with the Toyota there.
Well, there's very close there. He just misses the Toro Rosso by fractions. And as I said, lucky he didn't fly over that wall. He would have gone head-on into Formula 1 cars the other side of the corner. And Liuzzi was very lucky too. Watch him now. He'll be there's the accident going on the right hand side. He starts to have to drive around, including big pieces of suspension and the wheel there. So a great chance, unfortunately, for the other drivers to pick up punches as well on all of that debris. The safety car is in this lap. The race.
Robert Kubica is out of the car. He's in the medical centre. We'll bring you news of his condition as soon as we have it. We're riding on Bondo with Lewis Hamilton. This race is about to get underway again. And look at the lead he's already got on the safety car. Heidfeld has been rather recalcitrant at this restart, and Alonso behind him, and Hamilton goes. The race is back underway. We're approaching half distance here in Montreal. This is definitely now Lewis Hamilton's race to lose. He's got it under control. So he's certainly got the car underneath him. He knows he can win this race, and now he's halfway to that first Grand Prix victory.
According to regulation 40.14, I think it is, Lewis should have dropped at least 5 cars back from the safety car. When the lights go out, the lead driver becomes the safety car, and he didn't really give it. He was on its back bumper. He looked like he was on the North Circular, didn't he? He was so close to it. So strictly speaking, Lewis should have backed off a bit and held the pack up.
Hamilton leads, Heidfeld second, Alonso third, Rosberg fourth. Those two have yet to serve their 10-second stop-and-go penalty, which will drop them back through the field. Davidson is fifth, Ralf Schumacher is sixth. Seventh, we're riding on board with him, is Mark Webber, the Australian, looking for his first points finish of the season in the Red Bull. Massa is eighth in the Ferrari. He's the first of the Ferraris on the road. The second, Kimi Raikkonen, is in 10th place. Fisichella is the meat in a Ferrari sandwich in 9th. Sato is 11th. Alba's 12th for Spiker, 13th is Kovalainen, 14th is Rubens Barrichello, 15th Alex Wurz, 16th Jarno Trulli, 17th is David Coulthard, and 18th Tonio Liuzzi, with 4 cars retired. Kubica an accident, Sutil an accident, Scott Speed an accident, and Jenson Button, who never even took part in this Grand Prix, stalled on the start line.
This is where obviously there's a lot of dust and debris and rubbish, and Raikkonen still struggling to hang on to that Ferrari, as Takuma Sato, having a stellar afternoon for the Super Aguri, takes the place away from the out of position Kimi Raikkonen now.
And the rather out of form Kimi Raikkonen as well, and this is going to increase the pressure on his shoulders. It's been a very disappointing start to his Ferrari career after a wonderful first Grand Prix in Australia, pole position and victory.
crucially it says if necessary the driver can fall 5 or more lengths behind the safety car. So I think Lewis is absolutely fine on what he did. Just the other drivers I think probably expected him to back the pack up, and he just got on with it. So I think he'll be absolutely fine. It's lap 36 and his lead is up to 3.6 seconds already.
Yeah, he's 0.4 of a second a lap faster than Heidfeld. He's certainly got a big margin at the restart itself. Very cunning driving by Lewis Hamilton. We're riding on board with Felipe Massa in 8th place, Mark Webber up in front, and Ferrari, who are already some way behind McLaren in the Constructors, 20 points behind them in the Constructors' Championship. Look like they might go even further behind here this afternoon. There really will be a lot of thinking going on at Maranello about how they can get back into this championship hunt. It all started to go wrong for them 2 weeks ago in Monte Carlo, and it's not getting any better here in Montreal. Indianapolis, the next racetrack, has always been a good place for Ferrari. They've won.
Put yourself inside Lewis Hamilton's cockpit. I mean, what a lot of pressure. He's having to just keep his head through all of this turmoil that's been going on. The track looks more and more like a building site every lap, with debris and dust and soaking up oil, accidents, and now we see Alonso and Rosberg taking their penalties, their 10-second penalties. They have to go to their box. It's their own team's responsibility to hold them for 10 seconds, and this is costing Fernando Alonso major World Championship points. They're having a look around the car. They can't work on it, they can't change tyres, can't refuel it, can't do anything. It just has to sit there, and as soon as the 10 seconds are up, release. If he needs tyres or fuel, he's got to come in again.
Well, there he goes, and that's a slow-moving David Coulthard or Antonio Liuzzi.
So you're Copmy with me, so let's see if we can get the latest news. What have you heard from the medical centre?
We heard from the medical center via the FIA that Robert is stable. That's the only we know. Robert is stable.
No word on any potential injuries?
No further information. He is stable.
Thanks very much, Joe.
There's the Toyota going wide and Coulthard going through. Great news for Robert Kubica, and Hamilton leads on lap 37 by 4.4 seconds. Anthony Davidson is up to 3rd for Super Aguri. He's kept his car very much on the track. Fernando Alonso there down in 15th place after that pit stop.
Yeah, and he's behind a lot of cars that have already made pit stops. So they're going to be fueled for some time. It's going to be a hard afternoon for Fernando Alonso from there. Anthony Davidson in the Super Aguri comes into
Nobody's
the pits.
there.
No one's there waiting for him.
Obviously a bit of a surprise pit stop there. Whether he's got a problem, we don't know. Running P3, the team weren't expecting him, and whether he just misheard a radio call or what, but clearly that is not a scheduled stop. Oh dear, oh dear. Coulthard also pits. He's 18th at the moment, and look, that's
another incident down at turn 1. It's the Toyota of Jarno Trulli and the Williams of Nico Rosberg, who just served his 10-second stop-and-go penalty. They were disputing 15th and 16th places.
The anti-stall has kicked in, luckily, and we're going to see how that incident happened. So he's still got the engine running. Can he drive it away? He's trying to find neutral and then first. So he's gone down the outside. Presumably they just touch. They do indeed. And both of them spinning off. The Works Toyota and the Williams Toyota getting it together, and Rosberg did manage to find first gear. And what happens is a computer recognises an unusual circumstance, recognises the engine might spin, and it pulls the clutch in, so at least they can carry on in the race. Well, that's odd. They just both fell off by themselves, effectively. Obviously busy watching each other. There wasn't contact, look.
Synchronised spinning from Trulli and Rosberg. Meanwhile, at the front, Lewis Hamilton just set the fastest lap of the race on lap 37, a 1:16.494, pressing home his competitive advantage here today. David Coulthard has been forced to retire. He becomes our 5th retirement of the afternoon, and what an eventful afternoon it's been so far. 32 laps still to go here in Montreal, which always turns up drama and incident. It's very, very unusual for the top 10 in qualifying to be the top 10 result at the end of the race. So much happens here with safety cars and walls lining the track. Riding on board with Massa, up to 5th place now, behind Mark Webber.
I think what happened with Anthony Davidson is he locked his front brakes badly coming into the final chicane. As I'm looking out the window, he's just jumped across the chicane again. And I think he just decided to make a pit stop. He was so deep into the pit lane with flat-spotted front tyres, and of course the team had no chance to know that he was about to do that.
Well, if this race were to finish now with Lewis Hamilton first and Fernando Alonso in 13th place, Hamilton would have a 10-point lead in the World Championship, going to Alonso's least favourite track of the year, Indianapolis, next week. What pressure would be mounting then on the shoulders of the reigning world champion, and what confidence would flow through the veins and the mind of Hamilton. But there's a long, long way to go, as you've seen already. Anything can happen here in Montreal, as Coulthard there talks to Dr. Helmut Marko, the driver advisor of Dietrich Mateschitz, the boss of Red Bull. Marko is his representative at the racetracks in advising and deciding on drivers.
Looking out the window here, this last chicane, 4 of the last 6 cars that came through here jumped across the get out of jail free area in the middle and sort of just carried on. So many of them are not slowing down for this last chicane. As long as they don't gain gain a position or a significant amount of time, they won't be penalised. Rosberg coming back then at, well, there's one of them. That's Anthony Davidson going across there. And Alonso having a look at the back of Barrichello, I believe. No, it's a Williams.
Wurz, it was a pass on Alex Wurz that took Alonso up into 12th place. He's now right behind Rubens Barrichello in 11th, so it's a storming fight back here from Fernando Alonso, and he can afford nothing less. He really has to get maximum points here this afternoon from a deeply disadvantageous position. I'll tell you who's going very well though, Martin. That's Nick Heidfeld in the BMW, just 6 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, and 3 of those are just the margin that Hamilton had at the restart, so he's holding on to the McLaren. Hamilton's not hanging about, just set the fastest lap of the race, as I told you a few laps ago, on a 16.4. He's now doing a 1:16.8, but Heidfeld's keeping in touch.
No sign of any penalties for drivers that came out and jumped drivers passing him. And of course, we then know what happened to him. He tripped over one of those cars and had that huge accident.
Yep, but as if you're just joining us, Robert Kubica, we're told, is in a stable condition in the medical centre here in Montreal after that accident, as Alonso picks up that 11th place from Rubens Barrichello. So he's storming through the field. Next will be Christian Albers, then Heikki Kovalainen, and then he will come up behind the 7th place man, Kimi Räikkönen in a Ferrari, who may prove a little bit more difficult to pass than some of the others. So Hamilton leading Heidfeld. Mark Webber is in a podium position at the moment in 3rd place for Red Bull. Felipe Massa 4th, Fisichella 5th, Sato 6th, Räikkönen 7th, and Kovalainen, who could desperately do with some points. And now he's kept his head through all the difficulties while those many around him were losing theirs. So has Nick Heidfeld. And we've got 29 laps to go to the finish. Most of these runners will have to stop for a second time. Certainly all of the front runners will have to stop for a second time. And the big question really is Fernando Alonso, who's now got himself up into 9th place after serving a stop-and-go penalty for taking a pit stop during when the pit lane was closed during a safety car period, fighting his way back through the field then to 9th place. How many points can he take from this afternoon?
Lap 43 now. Hamilton's lead up to 6.5 seconds. It's Mark Webber in 3rd place at the moment for Red Bull. He's had a Massa's 4th at the moment. And what's going to happen here? This is Alonso passing Kovalainen for 8th place. Got a good drive off the final corner. Superguri on our left. We're on board with the Williams of Wurz. And it was a clean pass. Second margin to Kimi Räikkönen to make up.
You'll see him coming into view shortly. That's Fisichella in 5th place. Takuma Sato having a wonderful afternoon in the Super Aguri. There he is in the back of your screens in 6th place, and Super Aguri already scored a point, of course, this season, so if they could get a few more, that would be absolutely tremendous for them. He's 2 seconds ahead of Kimi Räikkönen, and he's actually lapping faster than the Ferrari is Takuma Sato. We saw him overtake him on the road. What an afternoon this is turning out. This is lap 45 of the Canadian Grand Prix, a hugely eventful Canadian Grand Prix from Montreal. There's an incident involving cars 3 and 5, which is Massa and Fisichella, the stewards are taking a look at. Earlier on, though, we've had 2 safety car periods here, which have certainly shaken things up. Lewis Hamilton is leading. He's 6 seconds ahead of Nick Heidfeld. Mark Webber is in 3rd place. We've had a major accident suffered by the BMW driver, Robert Kubica. We've heard he was in a stable condition a few minutes ago. Let's see if Louise Goodman can give us any more.
Well, I certainly can, James, because I'm down here in the paddock with Robert's manager, Daniele Morelli. He's just arrived back from the medical centre, so what's the latest?
I talked to him. He's conscious. I would say that my impression is that he's fine. He was giving indication to the doctors upon his general state. Looks like we have a positive. I have a positive feeling on what has happened. You know, I will give you more details later on. Robert is transported now to the General Hospital of Montreal, where they will, of course, deepen all checks.
But as far as we know, no injuries.
I saw him well altogether, and he talked to me almost normally, so that's a good sign.
What did he say to you about the accident?
He said nothing, because for sure it's not the time to talk about the accident.
Well, the good news is that he's well. Thanks for letting us know that.
Okay.
Well, good for Robert Kubica, good for Formula One, and excellent news. What's not good news, of course, is that we've got another Grand Prix next weekend, so it'll be amazing if he's fit enough to drive in that, but at least he seems like he's okay at the moment. Alonso, easily the fastest man on the track at the moment, down in P8. Now he's served that penalty. You're not allowed to take penalties during safety car periods, so that's why Rosberg and Alonso were kept out, and he's now trying to come back through the field. Rosberg way down in 16th, having had that sort of pirouette with the Toyota, and the investigation of cars 3 and 5 could well have been Massa and Fisichella coming out of the pit lane with that red light. So some drivers obeyed it, others didn't. Again now, Alonso absolutely flying on this lap.
Okay, let's put this race into context a few more. Hamilton then led it from the start. Alonso tried an ambitious move round the outside of him into turn 1. It didn't come off, and Heidfeld took 2nd place. Alonso rejoined in 3rd place. That was the order at the start. Hamilton built a 20-second lead in the opening phase of the Grand Prix, made his pit stop under routine race conditions, and just after that the first safety car was deployed, and that's where Alonso was forced to come in when he didn't want to, as diving into the pits now comes the BMW of Nick Heidfeld from 2nd place. This is lap 48, and this will move Mark Webber up into 2nd place. But Heidfeld has been really outstanding all weekend in this car, and he thoroughly deserves a podium for his efforts. At the moment, it's Hamilton's race to lose. All his principal opposition has fallen away for various reasons, mistakes or penalties, and he is 23 laps away from his first Formula One victory in only his 6th Grand Prix start.
I felt slightly, so they can always run that a little bit longer than first anticipated. So teams will be busy calculating that. They know exactly the data from the car as to how much fuel has been used, and it seems as if they're getting ready then to pit Hamilton now. The right thing to do. They don't want to get him out of sync. He's more than far enough ahead of the BMW to make sure he comes back out in the lead.
Absolutely perfect timing, as it's been really all afternoon for the McLaren team. They're ready, they got it right in the pit stop for Hamilton first time round, and he has got a 30-second lead, which means he will be able to pit and rejoin in front of second place man Mark Webber. Ted Kravitz, take us through it.
Yeah, and they need a flawless stop. It's the soft tyres ready. The track should be ready for them. Actually, the tyres coming off don't look in such bad condition. They were awful. Oh, it's a quick stop. Good stop. Good stop by the McLaren boys, and Lewis is away.
Now, I wonder how these tyres are going to fare. They've been wearing out very quickly. They're the tyres they qualified on because they're about 3/4 of a second per lap faster when they're new. But they go away quite quickly. He's comfortably back into the lead then, is Lewis Hamilton, as he enters lap 49, the softer tyres. Alonso is absolutely flying, and he's reeled Kimi Raikkonen back in.
So it looked pretty comfortable for Hamilton, rejoining in front of Webber and Heidfeld. Webber, we believe, will have to make a second stop this afternoon, so he'll be interested to see where he comes back out after that. Massa is in fourth. He has to make a stop again. He's looking for a podium here this afternoon. Takuma Sato is having a fantastic afternoon for Super Aguri. He's up in fifth place, and at the moment he's lapping faster still than the Ferrari of Kimi Raikkonen. That is absolutely staggering. I'll say it again. Takuma Sato is in front of and lapping faster than Kimi Raikkonen's Ferrari. New nose cone for the spiker of Christian Albers.
Yep, the other spiker's in the wall, and this one has, oh dear, that's those little service roads. They always seem to launch the cars, and that's ripped that off. And a lot of debris on the track again, of course, then, so more chance of punctures for anybody. Is that a piece of, I think the front wing might be broken on Raikkonen's Ferrari as well, or something wedged in it.
Well, remember at the start he nudged Felipe Massa, and we saw his front wing flexing at that point. David Coulthard is one of 5 retirements so far from this race. Let's find out why with Louise Goodman.
David, what's put you out?
We believe a gearbox related issue coming out of the chicane, and had some problems doing the upshifts, and then it started to work again, but you know, the temperature's gone up in the gearbox, so we had to park the car. This
seamless shift gearbox has given you problems every race since you introduced it in Barcelona, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it remains to be seen exactly what caused this problem. It could be a blockage in the oil cooler or something like that, so we need to wait and see. But that was the reason why we stopped it from running, and the guys are looking at it now. So obviously disappointing, because I think that the strategy aspect worked for us. Obviously the problem with this safety car scenario is that it can penalise a driver when he hasn't done anything wrong, and I think in the case of Alonso, obviously just because his strategy is different, it's put him a little bit out of the race, but on the positive, it's put us into the race. Mark's running strong, and it'd be great if the team could get some good points here today.
Thanks.
Alonso made a big error while we were hearing from David Coulthard there, jumped across the curb and appeared, there's yellow flags out everywhere.
Safety car's been deployed again.
Safety car deployed again, and Lewis and Hamilton had quite a slow lap. I would imagine it was the debris, the front wing debris of the spiker he had to navigate. So yellow flags waving, and Alonso hit the curb so hard it looked like it possibly knocked it out of gear or something. He lost. Here we go, we're on board with him. It's turn 8 and 9. He's gone in, he took too much curb, it made the car skip. No, that's a lap before. That is not the incident. It's just showing you the debris on the racetrack. Now we're going to see the incident, I think. Again, he's gone in, too much curb look, makes the car skip. It's not the one, sorry, we got the wrong one there. We'll see it again in a minute, hopefully.
Takuma Sato pits from 5th place, and Hamilton lead Owens. Chaos down in the Super Aguri pits. Meanwhile, we've got a safety car situation once again. It's time for Hamilton. He has to compose himself, and we've got 20 laps to go in this such an eventful race. Takuma Sato there, I think, being told by the team that it's not the moment to make your pit stop because they can't refuel him. They can change the tyres, and there's a bit of debate. That's the second time that the Super Aguris have not quite got their pit work top notch. It's a real shame because he was going so well. But the great news for Hamilton, of course, is that he's already made his second stop here this afternoon, so he is...
Rosberg is 1 lap behind, but nevertheless he should not overtake you.
The
Might be another penalty coming up for Nico Rosberg then. You cannot overtake when the safety car boards are out. You get a waved yellow and SC boards for everybody to see, and that could well be black. So who is car 3? Fisichella. Well, we've got to assume then possibly that Massa will get and Massa too. Black flag means park it up. You're out of the race.
Yep. So that instinct was right then of yours, Martin, about the red flag, the black.
Fizzy, you are black flag. In now, please, Giancarlo. In now. You are black flagged, Fizzy. You are black flagged.
Identical situation to the one we had here in Montreal a couple of years ago with Juan Pablo Montoya exiting the pit lane when the red light was on, and that's the end of the day for Giancarlo Fisichella and for Felipe Massa of Ferrari. From a championship point of view, this race has enormous ramifications.
That helps Alonso, doesn't it, though? It's well, he's past Fisichella now, so it's a Ferrari out of the way in front of him as well. Gives him more points. Damage limitation going on well there for Fernando Alonso.
Into the closing stages of the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal, Felipe Massa and Giancarlo Fisichella have just been given the black flag by the race director Charlie Whiting because they exited the pit lane when the red light was on. There is the evidence of it, and it's identical situation to what happened here a couple of years ago with Juan Pablo Montoya. There's Massa, there's Fisichella. You can see Kubica in the BMW waiting for the green light to come on, and he went out. Robert Kubica then, very soon after that, suffered a massive accident in the BMW, hitting the wall on the run down to the hairpin, but I'm delighted to say that he is stable. His manager has told us that he's been talking to him, and there's no sign of any broken bones. It was an enormous impact, 180-mile-an-hour accident, and here is the news being passed on to Fisichella that he's out of the race.
And that means park it and go home. No questions asked. You're out of the race.
There's his teammate Heikki Kovalainen, currently running in 12th place. The order at the moment, as race control give the lapped cars permission to overtake, and what will happen is they'll go round to the back of the snake, so that what you'll have is just race order behind the safety car. It's a new rule for 2007. All of the safety cars are new rules for 2007 regarding pit lanes being closed, etc. And the idea is to have a restart where all the fast cars are at the front and there aren't any slow cars in their way, which spoil the restart. Into the pits come Raikkonen, Alonso and Ralf Schumacher for their second stops of the afternoon, although obviously Alonso had a drive-through penalty. Alonso wants to get on with it a bit, and he's held up there by Raikkonen on the way in. It's a straight fight then between the two pit crews.
Those tyres of Alonso's look well warm when they came off, and he's away faster. He's away. Ted's down there.
Yeah, went across the grass. We saw that affected him in the Spanish Grand Prix. He lost downforce. That's why we've seen him off the road.
Well, that was a close call there, but I think Alonso is allowed to do that. He got away, he had his nose ahead. I'd be surprised if he gets penalised for that, as long as he didn't speed. And damage limitation working well for Fernando Alonso. We've got Massa and Fisichella out of the race now, and he's just cleared the other Ferrari of Raikkonen. Lewis Hamilton from Webber. Here we go. He's away. I think he's perfectly entitled to do that.
He was past a pit stop.
Yep.
He didn't overtake him. You're not allowed to overtake under the safety car. That's the main rule. Certainly on the racetrack you can't do that, but if you have a faster pit stop, then why shouldn't you go past the other car? That's the order then, the top 8 at the moment, but Mark Webber, as you can see, has got to make another pit stop here this afternoon. He pitted on lap 22, so he must be pretty close to the end of his fuel load, I would think. Must be running on vapours. Barrichello pitted on lap 30. which is close to half distance. Interesting to see whether he can make it through to the finish. Anyway, the restart here. Webber dives into the pit lane immediately from second place, and for the fourth time today, Lewis Hamilton leads away. Nick Heidfeld is behind him. Rubens Barrichello is in third place. Alex Wurz is in fourth. Here comes Alonso. Does that sound like a gearbox problem?
No, I think he had to lift off. You're not allowed to pass until you've gone over the start-finish line. So Alonso had to get out of it and then still made the pass. And it seems as if the Renault's got problems.
Yeah, slowing. Kovalainen. It's not a Renault, actually. It's a Super Aguri that seems to be struggling there. Is that Takuma Sato? I think it is. Anthony Davidson, who had a strong run earlier on, but has had a series of problems, running in 14th place. Takuma Sato, his teammate, was running as high as 5th in front of the Ferrari of Kimi Raikkonen at one point, but he had a mix-up in the last safety car with the pit stops, and it's dropped him right down into 11th place. So chances of points today for Takuma Sato have gone away with that incident. What a shame for him, because he was going so well.
I bet Alonso's fancying having a go down into the hairpin, and he's not quite close enough. He's got to be so careful he doesn't lose the nose there. But Alonso making that second stop. Webber, curiously, stopping in the race zone rather than because they opened the pits. He would have been allowed to pit earlier on, so that's not worked out at all well for Mark Webber.
And you can see Kovalainen putting a pass on Jarno Trulli. That was for 6th place. Into the wall goes one of the it's Liuzzi in the sole remaining Toro Rosso. It's all happening here. And look at this. This is Alonso and Trulli, and Alonso yet again. He loves that piece of grass this afternoon.
And Raikkonen passed him too. So Raikkonen passed Alonso. And was it Ralf Schumacher in there too?
Well, there's a big black tyre mark on the exit wall, the wall of champions as it's known here in Montreal, because Tonio Liuzzi has gone into it. His car has come to a stop on the way down towards the start-finish line. It's well and truly out of danger for anybody coming out of the chicane, but I guess the race control will be looking at this again. A difficult place to recover the car from, but not immediately.
Be thinking about a safety car again, but at the moment, safety car, yes. I can't see they have got any option. There's no way you can leave marshals in that position trying to get rid of the car. And once again then, Lewis Hamilton must wonder what on earth he's doing. It was the curb in the middle, threw him wide, classic problem there in what they call the champions wall, and out he goes.
Well, I said at the top that a safety car here is a probability rather than a possibility, and it's one of the things that the drivers have to take into account. Hamilton has been peerless here this afternoon. He's managed to keep his composure, and he's basically led this thing all the way through it. Here's another look at Alonso and how he went wide trying to get round Jarno Trulli.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fair move there on both parts, but it nearly cost him a front wheel, didn't it, later on? What an adventurous afternoon he's had. The two Massa brothers then, and Felipe not at all happy, of course. He went out of the pit lane, the red light was on, and what happens is, my understanding is that when the safety car approaches the pit zone with the queue of cars behind, they close the end of the pit lane. It's difficult for me to know exactly where the safety car was from the shots we had, but both Massa and Fisichella are penalised for ignoring the red light. Safety car is in this lap. That's strange, because we've got a little four-wheel drive buggy on the pit lane, pit straight here.
I think it's a glitch on the computer, because they've sent another message saying it's been deployed, so a glitch on the computer. There's Tonio Liuzzi explaining what happened. He joins a long list of great drivers who've been in that wall. Michael Schumacher, Jacques Villeneuve, Damon Hill, to name but 3. Jenson Button here a couple of years ago as well. So 14 laps to go to the end, and this is helping Lewis Hamilton, I imagine. It's laps he doesn't have to do on these less favourable soft tyres, although quite a lot of his cars around him are also on the soft tyre at the end of this race, including his only opposition really, which is Nick Heidfeld. So in the closing stages, if it stays like this, and everybody finishes where they are at the moment, which on a day like today you wouldn't want to gamble on anything, Hamilton would have 48 points, Alonso 38 points, Massa 33 and Raikkonen 25. So Hamilton would have a 15-point lead over the nearest Ferrari and a 10-point lead over his own teammate Fernando Alonso. Nick Heidfeld, if he stays in second place, would actually leapfrog Kimi Raikkonen and have 26 points, would move into 4th place in the World Championship. But what a situation that would be for McLaren. for their rookie driver to be 10 points clear of the two-time world champion as we approach the halfway stage in this Formula One World Championship. 110,000 capacity crowd here in Montreal. It's the 29th year in a row that Formula One has visited Montreal. They love their racing in this part of the world. Of course, they got into it thanks to Gilles Villeneuve, after whom this circuit is named. It's the 25th anniversary of his death in the Ferrari, 1982, of course, this year. And there's been a lot of celebrations, a major exhibition of photographs and memorabilia of the great Gilles Villeneuve in downtown Montreal this week. A lot of visitors have been in to see that, and a huge influx of people to Canada for this race from the United States, from South America and Central America as well. You've had a real mixture of accents and voices you hear on the streets of this very cosmopolitan city during Grand Prix weekend. Well, it's been an eventful afternoon, to put it mildly. Ted Kravitz, what's going on in the pit lane?
I don't understand this one. Rubens Barrichello and Alex Wurz have to stop again. They're not fueled to the finish. So why aren't they stopping now? It's very strange. I've just been into the pit lane, and Honda, they came out when the safety car was deployed and then went back in again, and it looks like they're not bringing him in. So they're going to waste more time when he has to pit when everybody else is at racing speeds.
Same thing happened with Mark Webber, who was running in second place to come in just at the last restart. Hamilton, Heidfeld, Barrichello, Wurz, Kovalainen, Trulli, Raikkonen, Ralf Schumacher, with Alonso 9th, but I can guarantee you that will not be the order 13 laps from now when this race finishes.
Yeah, I don't know if the pit lane was officially open last time those cars came into the end of the lap, whether they could actually get down the pit lane, Ted. But Hamilton then still at the front of the queue, closely followed by Heidfeld, as the Toyota of Jarno Trulli pits from what was 6th place.
Yep, so Trulli drops out. That moves Alonso up a place. He's back into the points now. The lap cars may now overtake. Means that, as I said before, getting the slower cars out of the way of the faster cars, so that at the restart we can have a straight race, which is what everybody wants to see, rather than slow cars getting in the way.
There's been so many safety cars where they've released the lap cars. There aren't any lapped cars at the moment. They're all on the lead lap, so there's no overtaking to be done there. We've got 13 runners at the moment from the original 22 that started the Grand Prix.
Absolutely. Oh, and we've got a car in the wall. That, under a safety car, Jarno Trulli, who had just made a pit stop and was obviously speeding around the track to join onto the tail of the snake, has crashed and may well delay the safety car coming in even more. What an extraordinary afternoon. This is just incredible. Well, I say Toyota have had some problems this weekend with their suspension twice during free practice. The front suspension on Jarno Trulli's car just broke by itself on the curve at turn 8. That's on the way out of the pit lane at turn 1 that he's gone off, and obviously we saw a few people struggling there on the way out, driving really quickly out of a pit stop. It's very slippery if you get offline there, and it's put Trulli into the barriers.
Oh dear, that's very embarrassing. We've all had silly moments like that, but whether he did have a technical problem, I mean, the tyres are just fresh out of the blanket, so they're as warm as they're probably ever going to be, especially with these safety car moments where they're losing tyre pressure and temperature, and it seems as if Jarno just locked a wheel and went straight off into the wall. Well, what was I saying at the beginning of the race about the wise old heads that might not be making the silly mistakes today? Proved to be the case, has it?
Well, the safety car is staying out, and it will stay out until the race director Charlie Whiting and Herbie Blash, who sits alongside him, are absolutely satisfied that the track is safe to race on. And obviously the incident of Trulli will delay that even further. We've only got 11 laps to go here for Lewis Hamilton, who has Nick Heidfeld behind him in second place on the run to the finish. Be interesting to see what tyres they're both on. Obviously Hamilton's on the super soft, which is the less favourable tyre. The drop off in performance in free practice of the tyre was over a second over 4 laps, so the performance does really drop away quite markedly. Safety car in this lap. If Heidfeld is on the harder tyre, that might give Lewis a bit of a headache in the closing 11 laps of this race, but we'll get a close-up hopefully and we'll see. The softer tyre is the one with the white stripe on it.
Tremendous pressure for Lewis Hamilton, having to just keep controlling the pace, keep having to rebuild any kind of advantage from his amazing speed today. And just as he gets underway with that, it all gets taken away from him. And then he's got so much to lose up front there. But at the moment, he seems to be keeping his head beautifully.
Well, it's Hamilton and Heidfeld. They're both looking for their first Grand Prix victory. Understand that Heidfeld is on the better tyre, and he's been pretty fast throughout the weekend, and he was managing to stay with Lewis last time. So this restart is absolutely critical now for Lewis Hamilton, because Heidfeld is a threat to him.
And this time I think Lewis has backed the pack up. Lights are out on the safety car. It is coming in, as we know, and Hamilton building up speed then down the back straight. The pack much closer this time.
Yep, weaving there just to get some heat into his tyres. Heidfeld in second place, Barrichello third, Wirtz fourth. As they come across the line, there goes Hamilton, and there is Heidfeld. He is on the same type of tyre, so that's one thing that Lewis doesn't have to worry about. The conditions are identical for the two men. Wirtz fourth, fifth Kovalainen, sixth Raikkonen, seventh Ralf Schumacher, eighth at the moment Fernando Alonso. How many paces can he make up in the final 10 laps to minimise the damage for his points situation versus his teammate Lewis Hamilton? The way things stand at the moment, he's dropping 9 points to him.
Have a great chance, and that's exactly what happened to Kubica when he touched the back of a Toyota, and through goes Fernando Alonso. Now he's staring at the back of Raikkonen one more time.
Remind you that we've lost two cars through black flags here. That's Felipe Massa and Giancarlo Fisichella, so neither of them are going to score points here this afternoon. This is one of those rare opportunities for drivers like Alex Wirtz to pick up a hatful of points if they're lucky. As Kovalainen, he's another one that could come out of this looking very good. He's currently in fifth place, but he fancies the fourth place that Alex Wirtz currently occupies.
I've struggled to believe that Wirtz and Barrichello can get all the way to the end of the race. Maybe they've saved a lot of fuel under safety cars, and Alonso having a go around the outside of Raikkonen and nearly losing out with it. But what an adventure he's had through turn one today. Been off there 4 times so far.
4 times, including the opening of the race, the start, the run. He tried to get around the outside of Lewis Hamilton. It didn't work out for him, and not only did he not come out of it in second place, it came out in third place. It really set the tone for this Grand Prix. Hamilton streaked away at the start. He's had as big a lead at one point as 20 seconds over the rest of the field. He's had to keep his composure, though, through 4 safety car periods. You couldn't pick a more difficult first race to try and win than this one. It has been absolutely extraordinary. We've had a major accident involving Robert Kubica in the BMW. Delighted to hear from his manager that he's okay, and apparently no bones broken. He's talking, and he's in the local hospital here in Montreal. That's great news. And what an afternoon this has been. Just 9 to go then for Lewis Hamilton. Well, we saw Jarno Trulli throw it into the barriers there on his way out of the pit lane, and that's given away his chance of scoring any points this afternoon. His teammate, though, Ralf Schumacher, is in 8th at the moment, and he could really do with a point.
Massa and Fisichella then disqualified for passing the red light at the end of the pit lane. And the red light is only on when the safety car is anywhere near the pits. I'm not sure whether I got exactly the right picture there or a delayed picture. It didn't appear to be near the pits at that time, but clearly the stewards thought so and disqualified those two cars. Hamilton leads lap 63, up to 1.9 seconds now his lead from Heidfeld. Barrichello third for Honda, and this is a Toyota being looked at heavily by Takuma Sato. Ralf Schumacher we're on board with. Sato thinking of a look down the outside, and Ralf Schumacher covering his ground well there.
And this is for the all-important last World Championship point for 8th place. Sato's already scored 10 years ago, Alex Wirtz. He sat it out for 5 years as a test driver. He's had a really torrid start to his return to racing. And look at this, here comes Sato on Ralf Schumacher. He really wants that point.
Sato
in fact,
driving.
He's in the point because Barrichello's dropped out, so Sato is up into 8th. He's looking for 2 points here.
Driving superbly well, Takuma Sato has been all weekend. Why did Honda not pit under the safety car once the pit lane was open? We'll find out hopefully after the race. Wirtz is a man going quite quickly in P3, but we think he's got to stop again yet. It's lap 64. Hamilton's built the lead up to 3.5 seconds. Just added 1.6 to that. He has an answer for Lewis Hamilton today.
Or yesterday. In qualifying, he was absolutely outstanding. Alonso set the first marker in the final part of qualifying. Hamilton went out and just took the perfect line through this incredibly difficult final chicane and got the lap time in. Alonso was up in sectors 1 and 2. It looked as though he was going to take the pole away from Hamilton.
Webber back down in 9th now. He's been yo-yoing around. And unfortunately, another man who had to pit in racing conditions when it looked like he could have got in the pit lane under safety car conditions. Lap 65, the gap now 4.1 between Hamilton and Heidfeld. Now they're 9.4 ahead of Wirtz in 3rd place. There's the list of people, or starting to be the list of people that are out. Liuzzi hit the wall in the final turn, massive disqualified. Fisichella disqualified for passing the red light at the end of the pit lane. Albers took his front wing off across the grass. Coulthard gearbox problems. Kubica, a horrible crash, almost like an airplane crash. Thing was flying through the air, but we hear at the moment he's okay. Sutil, there's been so much going on, I can't remember why. We know that Speed was in the wall. Sutil crashed, didn't he, in turn 4, caused one of the safety car problems. Button never got away.
They're loving this down at Williams. They're on for a podium. He's a popular fellow, Alex Wirtz. Test driver last year, promoted to a race seat this year. And, well, he's just 5 laps away from a memorable podium. Doesn't look like that team is going to be getting ready for any more pit stops, so they've got it absolutely spot on. Wirtz pitted on lap 30. Clearly doing a one-stop strategy here this afternoon. It's really worked for him with all these safety cars. He was nowhere at the start, but certainly fought his way through. Another man who's on for a good finish here is Heikki Kovalainen, who has, there he is, had the most difficult weekend up to this point. He had a crash on Friday in free practice, which set him back a lot. Didn't get any much running in. He had an engine failure in practice on Saturday morning, which meant he would have to drop 10 places from wherever he qualified. He had another crash in qualifying, and so he started this race dead last, 22nd place. And as a result of the chaos of the safety cars, he is currently running in 4th place.
And does he need that? Heikki Kovalainen had such a difficult start with the Renault team, and that will be very much a big boost for his confidence and support within the team, I'd imagine. Hamilton looking good. Heidfeld is looking more like he's going to come under pressure from Wirtz behind than he is chasing down Lewis Hamilton. Wirtz, well, if he's one stopping, that's worked brilliantly, hasn't it? And Ralf Schumacher this time having to defend the inside into the final chicane.
He's got him.
Sato goes through.
Takuma Sato in the Super Aguri, and in Japan they will be going mad for that. Such a popular little team, Super Aguri, and such a popular second most experienced Japanese driver in Formula 1. There's Anthony Hamilton, whose heart rate was around 180 at the start, but what must it be now? His son is just 4 laps away from his first ever Grand Prix victory. It's a yellow helmeted driver at the wheel of a McLaren, and the comparisons with Ayrton Senna, the composure and the speed, I'm sure will begin after this race. It's the beginning of a long career for Lewis Hamilton, and what a start it's been. 5 consecutive podiums in the first 5 races, and now just 4 laps to the finish.
Very slippery down there at turn 10. Lewis being super carefully 6 seconds in the lead. Wirtz took a second out of Heidfeld, chasing Heidfeld down, who's in 2nd place at the moment. Kovalainen in a solid 4th. Raikkonen easy 5th. Alonso is only 1.1 ahead of Takuma Sato. Now Sato, there it is. Now Sato's dispensed with Ralf Schumacher. He fancies a go at Fernando Alonso.
And the critical thing is that Alonso, I believe, is on the super soft tyre, which is the slow tyre. Hamilton's doing 119s at the moment compared to the 116s he was doing earlier on the harder tyre. Sato's on the right tyre here to have a go at the reigning world champion in a McLaren.
And Wirtz is only 2 seconds now behind Heidfeld, so there's another big fight going on in these closing 3 laps. Look at this, Sato up. We know that, well, we suspect there's some damage underneath that McLaren. It's been off the road so many times down at turn 1. But Sato, we know, has got good speed down the back straight. He's got to fancy his chances.
Well, psychologically, it's going to be hard to take for Fernando Alonso anyway this race. His teammate Hamilton has been peerless at the front, and he has really struggled this afternoon. Not for the first time this season. Similar story, and you've got to contend with the incredible confidence boost this is going to give Lewis Hamilton, but he's possibly got to contend with fighting off a Super Aguri in the closing stages.
Yeah, he's ever closer, isn't he?
He's determined, isn't he?
Alonso then with his mirrors full of Super Aguri. What a great drive. Hamilton had just had a very steady lap. I think he actually got a bit wide. We saw him on the marbles at the hairpin, but so did Heidfeld. Hamilton now back in the 1 minute 18s again. Look at this. He's got a run on him. That'll be a brave move down the outside of Fernando Alonso.
He's a brave man though, and Alonso knows that he's got a championship to win here, and he lets him through. Sato goes through into 6th place ahead of Fernando Alonso. Well, if you live to be 100, you thought you would never see that, but it's happened here today. So much has happened here today in Montreal. It's been a crazy race, and what an outcome. Look at this pass.
Well, Alonso could only defend up the inside, and it's so dirty and bumpy there that even so, I thought he might fight a little bit harder than that. Fernando Alonso having a miserable afternoon. Sato with a brilliant drive. Watch this, look, that is super brave. Now he's got to hang on to it though into the chicane, which of course he did.
They love it here in Montreal. Sato has a bit of a reputation amongst the drivers of being a bit unpredictable. That will have been on Alonso's mind, but the main thing for him is he cannot afford an accident. He's got to try and win a world championship, and with his teammate in this kind of form, Hamilton, about to go on to his final lap of this Grand Prix, Alonso knew he couldn't take any chances. So here we go then. He's about to start his final lap for his date with destiny, Lewis Hamilton.
Wirtz is 2.4 behind Heidfeld. Heidfeld's managed to stop that advance. Wirtz looking solid for a podium. And Kovalainen still fourth, comfortably fourth, 3.3 ahead of Kimi Räikkönen, who's had a very lackluster afternoon. There is Kovalainen. Hamilton then on his final lap.
And Sato would have been even higher up than this if he hadn't had the mix-up in his pit stop in his final Aguri team. There is Alex Wirtz then. He's going to get his podium. And there is Heikki Kovalainen trying to close him down in the final stages of this race. Nick come through in 2nd place, but you could not imagine a tougher race for a rookie to try and win than this one. We've had 4 safety cars here this afternoon. Lewis Hamilton has managed to keep it all together, and he is now on the run down to the final corner. We're following this scrap between 2nd and 3rd places. I'd like to see Lewis though through the final corners. There he is. Well, he's rewriting the book of what is possible in Formula One. If he can do this after 6 races, what might he achieve in the future? Lewis Hamilton wins! Surely the first of many for Lewis Hamilton. The world is at his feet.
What a drive, what a mega star we've got on our hands with Lewis Hamilton. I can't imagine a more challenging afternoon on a dry racing track anyway. Absolutely sensational, faultless, brilliant performance by Lewis Hamilton. Heidfeld got 2nd, Wirtz on the podium for Williams, well done to him. Kovalainen 4th, Räikkönen 5th, and Sato 6th, Alonso 7th, Ralf Schumacher getting the last point for Toyota.
And it was never really in doubt.
Well done, Lewis, you won that fair and square.
Good guys, well done!
Okay, well done, Lewis. Excellent job, mate. That's fantastic. The order yourself, Heidfeld, Alex Wirtz, Kovalainen, Kimi, Sato, Fernando, and Ralf. And Kubica has broken his leg, but is pretty much okay. So yeah, excellent job.
Welcome back to Montreal, where after an hour and three-quarter of torture for Lewis Hamilton, with 4 safety car periods that ate into his lead that he'd built up every single time, he has won his first Formula One Grand Prix here in Montreal. He now leads the World Championship from his teammate Fernando Alonso by 8 points, and look at the margin to the 2 Ferrari drivers. Raikkonen falling away now, 21 points behind the championship leader. And the way Ferrari have been going, Martin, you have to say at the moment it does look as though it might be a straight fight between the 2 McLaren guys in the second half of the season. And if that's the case, then who knows where this adventure in his debut year for Lewis Hamilton might end. We go next, of course, to Indianapolis, which is Alonso's least favourite track, and with McLaren in this kind of form, who's to say Hamilton wouldn't get a back-to-back. There's the victorious moment for Lewis Hamilton. It's a podium this afternoon for Nick Heidfeld and BMW, thoroughly well deserved by them. Wirtz picks up a podium for Williams in 3rd place, and there is Anthony Hamilton and Lisa Dennis, Ron Dennis's wife. It's an extraordinary story how Hamilton approached Ron Dennis at an awards dinner and said, "I'm Lewis Hamilton and I want to drive for you one day." And after a couple of years of watching him in karts, Ron Dennis started funding his racing. A great relief to Lewis's father Anthony, who was working 2 jobs to try and pay for it all. And this is the culmination of all those years of work together. Now 22, and he's arrived in Formula One in the biggest possible way. Look at the margin for McLaren over Ferrari, 28 points now in the constructors. One black spot on the afternoon, though, is the news that Robert Kubica, who had a major accident around the halfway stage, we're told from the hospital, does have a broken leg. So we wish him well, but he's up and talking, apparently. But nevertheless, he does have a broken leg as Lewis Hamilton comes into the Parc Fermé.
3rd podium for Alex Wirtz. Lewis only knows Parc Fermé. He finished 3rd, 2nd, 2nd, now 1st. He's never had to go where the other drivers go at the end of a Grand Prix. He only ever goes into this special area for the podium position drivers.
There was never really any doubt in the mind of anybody in Formula One that we'd be witnessing this moment sooner rather than later, but how soon it has come has astonished everybody. No one has ever started in Formula One like this guy has. It's completely unprecedented. And look what it means to the McLaren team, who've nurtured him for such a long time. There's Dr. Aki Hinksa, the man behind Lewis and the physical and mental side of his preparation. Strictly speaking, you're not supposed to shake hands with anybody in the Parc Fermé, but I think everyone will forgive Lewis his exuberance. Mike Negline there, the team coordinator, just reminding him of his responsibilities. Ron Dennis there. And Herbie Blasch just taking him round to... There's Norbert Haug, the boss of Mercedes-Benz Motorsport. Martin Whitmarsh, the managing director of McLaren F1 team. What a moment.
He's so excited he hasn't taken his crash helmet off yet. Gets away now so that they can add his weight all kitted up to the weight of the car, make sure it's legal at the end of the race. And well, they're going to be happy, aren't they? As we all are. What a drive. What a challenging afternoon. The track was breaking up at turn 10. Debris all over the place. 4 safety cars, and he was faultless.
That's as good as anything I've seen in 17 years of this sport. The most difficult conditions imaginable. You can tell how hard it was out there by the number of cars that hit the wall. It was slippery, it was dangerous, and it was difficult. And on top of that, he kept seeing these massive leads eroded. 22nd lead wiped out, the first safety car. Where will it all end? What kind of career lies ahead of Lewis Hamilton? I was talking to one person who worked very closely with Alonso over many years during his Renault era, and he thinks that in a couple of years' time no one will be able to get anywhere near Lewis Hamilton. Once he picks up a bit more experience, a bit more know-how with the cars, he'll be the fastest guy out there. There's Heidfeld, very happy in 2nd.
Yes, he's previously had 2 second places, three 3rd places. Never a win, as you say, for Nick Heidfeld, but very well deserved.
A very emotional Ron Dennis there, a muted handshake. You could see the tears in his eyes, and you can see how much it means to him. There's Wirtz. What a result for him. Fantastic. Was there ever a more popular winner? Another trophy for the Hamilton trophy cabinet, but this the most special by far that he's picked up. There have been so many over the years in karting, in Formula 3, in GP2, but that's the first Grand Prix Winners' Trophy. It's a wonderful club that he has just joined, and a pretty exclusive one at that.
22 years old. The pressure, the focus, the expectation on him. Martin Whitmarsh there. McLaren really looking super strong this year, aren't they? And Martin been with the team a long time. It's nice to see him up there.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how everyone regroups, Ferrari in particular, after this second setback in a row. Monaco, they were pulverised. Here, Heidfeld picking up second place for BMW. It's hard to judge how far off McLaren they were on pace because it was such a chaotic race. There's Roger Pert, who was the original designer of this racetrack, one of the stewards. He's also the president of the Canadian Motorsport Association. And he can't believe how much Formula One has grown and almost outgrown the facility he designed only 30 years ago. In the middle of the throng is Anthony Hamilton. Doesn't look like there's going to be any champagne at the moment. Well, it was a crazy race and it had more chaos and more cut and thrust than a Zorro movie, but Lewis Hamilton kept his head. He's just won his first Grand Prix, and this is just the beginning.
Congratulations to the 3 podium finishers of the Canadian Grand Prix. Third for the AT&T Williams team, Alexander Wurz. Second for BMW Sauber, Nick Heidfeld. And celebrating the 150th podium for the McLaren-Mercedes Alliance and scoring his first ever Grand Prix victory for Vodafone McLaren-Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton. Lewis, what a day. 4 safety cars, obviously that big accident with Robert, who we hear is okay now, but what a day for you.
It has been a fantastic day. I mean, this is history. I mean, to come here, my first time in Canada, really, it's been a fantastic season already. We've had 6 podiums, and I'm ready. I've been ready for quite some time for the win. It was just a matter of when and where. And the team gave me the best car. I had no problems during the race at all. A few safety cars, which sort of made it a little bit boring at some point, but as soon as we got going it was exciting again. But I did hear about Robert. He's a good friend of mine. I hope he's okay, and so best wishes to his family and everything. But I have to dedicate this one to my dad, because without him this just wouldn't be possible.
And Lewis, now it is behind you, that first win is behind you. Talk us through the closing stages. What was going through your mind? What did it feel like to take the checkered flag?
Well, it was, as I said, we sat behind the pace car for quite some time, so it sort of dulled down for a while. And then it was about just building it back up, and the team did a great job in getting me out and getting me in before the first pace car. And so I was sort of out in the clean air, and I was very fortunate. I had a good pace. Nick wasn't very close to me, so I was able to keep a good gap. And then the last few laps, I was just counting them down. I could see my board. And I'm the type of guy that usually push right to the end, but it's a tricky circuit, and if you make one mistake, you get on the marbles during the wall. So I quietened down towards the end and just enjoyed it, and it really was just about enjoying the whole moment.
And you made a great start too. Nick Heidfeld right behind you going in there, and then Fernando on the outside. I say a great start. You came out of the second corner in front anyway.
Yes, I made quite a poor getaway, to be honest. I don't know what exactly happened. I'm supposed to have a certain amount of revs, and I went over it and then under to try and get it back, and so I had a pretty poor start, and I saw Nick getting close, so I had to close the door, and then I saw Fernando fly past, and obviously I didn't want him coming past, but somehow he got onto the marbles, I think, and went straight on, and I just took the corner as normal, and then Fernando came flying past. It was quite it's quite exciting still, and it was just great to get out in front.
Great to talk to you on this momentous day. Congratulations. Moving to you, Nick. Qualified third, finished second. A fantastic day for you also and for the team.
Yeah, it was great, and definitely a special moment was the start, as we just spoke about. I had a fantastic start. Easily overtook Fernando, was right behind Lewis in the slipstream. Tried to get to the inside, but he closed the door, and I saw that Alonso was probably just pushing a bit too hard, and then went off. And then the safety cars, I was, let's put it that way, I was not unlucky. But I lost a lot of the time I pulled on the other guys behind me. But I have to say the team did a great job today. I was happy to hear that Robert is okay. It was difficult to get some information at some point. You just saw the car on the side with nothing left, and I think he's fine.
Obviously very, very difficult conditions today for all the drivers. Talk about that and the marbles offline.
Well, actually, I think it's not acceptable that we have that many marbles here again. I doubt that it's just the rubber of the tires coming loose. We've had it yesterday. Probably Fernando lost the pole due to that. We've seen in turn 10 that they did something to the circuit. We had it numerous times in the last couple of years. And okay, we are the best in the world, and we should keep online. But we speak about centimeters. You just go off half a meter, and you lose a lot, or you can even crash. So that was a difficult thing again.
Congratulations to you, Nick. Thank you. And Alexander Wurz, P3 in the Canadian Grand Prix. 24 hours ago, that would have seemed like a dream.
Yes, it's still a dream, I mean, I had a difficult weekend, never found the rhythm, but hey, if you just keep pushing, I showed the whole year that I'm a strong racer. Today I was a bit lucky as well as just keeping the pace all the time on the option tires, out for very long, very difficult. But the car was running fine, no problems, and I did no mistakes, so I'm really pleased to bring that third one home.
Well, Alex, you say difficult with the option tire, the only finisher on a one-stop strategy. What was it like in that second phase of the race?
Well, to be honest, it was hell. So I thank God for the safety cars, because the tire just grained to bits. What I did just from the tactics, I really scraped the tire as much as I can just to get rid of the graining quickly, and that was very important because in the end I had Kovalainen behind me on the prime tire, so by then my tire cleaned up and I could control the pace. I got actually close to Nick, but wasn't enough laps. But anyway, I'm super happy, third, exactly in my 10th years anniversary. That's a bit kitsch, but I take it.
Absolutely, and great to have Williams back on the podium for the first time in just over 2 years. Returning to you, Lewis, finally for your thoughts, leading the championship, going to Indianapolis now next weekend. Not too much time to enjoy this win of yours, but nonetheless, I guess it'll be a great evening for you.
It will, and there is plenty of time to enjoy it. I have to say hello to all my family back home. I know they're all sitting at home watching and supporting me, and to all the fans, they've been great, and the team. You know, what a job they've done back in Woking, in Brixworth and in Stuttgart to prepare the car and make it quicker than everyone's, and really it's a big thank you to them. But going into Indy, you know, obviously I go there with great confidence. We have to try and continue with the performance that we have, and I have no doubt we can do that.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Now if we could have some words from Nick Heidfeld and Alex in their own language, starting with Nick in German.
Ja, war ein perfektes Wochenende letztendlich mit dem zweiten Platz. Was mich besonders glücklich macht, ist die Tatsache, dass ich wahrscheinlich auch Zweiter geworden wäre ohne das ganze Chaos. Ich war vor dem Fernando, bin weggezogen und hätte da glaube ich auch bleiben können. Dann war es natürlich schön, während des Rennens zum Schluss zu hören, dass dem Robert wahrscheinlich gut geht, dass er vielleicht einen Knochenbruch hat, aber anscheinend für den Crash, den er hatte, wäre das noch akzeptabel. Wieder zurück zum Rennen. Über die Safety Cars war ich nicht ganz glücklich. Ich war zwar nicht sehr schlimm dadurch betroffen, auf der anderen Seite habe ich viel Zeit verloren, die ich mir schon rausgefahren hatte. Und jetzt noch was anderes, möchte ich meine Familie grüßen, meine Freundin Patricia und meine kleine Tochter Juni. Ich hoffe, wir sind noch an Air. Ich liebe euch.
Thank you, Nick. And Alex also.
Ja, also ich bin da überhappy natürlich. 10 Jahre nach meinem ersten Grand Prix hier zu kommen, Dritter zu werden, schwieriges Rennen, echt schwer. Bin total happy. Natürlich ein Riesendanke an das Team. Da haben wir ein super Auto hingestellt, haben immer wirklich gut informiert im Rennen, haben die richtigen Entscheidungen getroffen. Und natürlich muss dem Nick folgen. Ich möchte meine Familie grüßen lassen, meine 2 Kinder, den Felix und den Charlie. Ich hoffe, sie schauen zu und natürlich die ganze Familie, alle Fans, Williams Team. Herzlichen Dank.